A startup barely 3 years old is chasing a $31.5 billion price tag, roughly 7 times where it sat 8 months ago. Its new open model also leads a coding board over 2 closed rivals from much larger labs. That sounds like benchmark theater. It is really a wager on a less glamorous constraint, getting enough memory around the model. That is the mechanism this film unpacks. For NVIDIA watchers, the question is not who wins one leaderboard. It is whether clever software can stretch scarce hardware far enough to justify Moonshot's next valuation. The first surprise is how this company found its lane long before this week's scorecard, and why that early, narrow choice still shapes everything it ships today. Yang Xuan started Moonshot in April 2023. By October, Kimi was built around long documents, accepting 200,000 Chinese characters at once before any other AI product could match that. That was a narrow product choice, not a general chatbot. It also trained the company to treat context length as the main battlefield, long before anyone called it a strategy. A long context tool is not a chatbot with a bigger backpack. It changes the job. Instead of asking for one answer, a user can hand over a large pile of material and keep working inside it. That product habit points naturally toward engineering agents. Next comes the part that makes the price tag look less random than it first appears, the fundraising climb, and how fast investors moved to fund it. Moonshot was valued at $4.3 billion at the end of 2025. Early 2026 brought a $10 billion mark. May brought a $20 billion round. Now reporting points to a $31.5 billion target. Each step prices speed, not maturity. The reported annual run rate crossed $100 million in March, $200 million in April, then $300 million. More than 70% reportedly comes from the API. Investors are paying for a machine that sells model access, not just a popular chat window. The funding story has an exit clock attached. BigGo Finance reports a Hong Kong filing within 6 months, with CICC and Goldman Sachs discussing lead roles. That makes the valuation less like a private trophy and more like a public market rehearsal. The market sees the ascent and cheers the headline. Here is the crack hidden inside the engineering story underneath it, the part nobody put on a slide. Kimi K3 is a mixture of experts model with 2.8 trillion parameters. It has 896 specialist blocks, yet uses 16 for each token. Think of a vast workshop where only the relevant benches light up. That cuts work per request. Moonshot says Kimi Delta Attention can decode up to 6.3 times faster with million token context. It also says attention residuals raise training efficiency by roughly 25% for under 2% added cost. These are company-reported engineering claims, not a free chip factory. Reporting says Moonshot tested with NVIDIA H200s, an unnamed alternative GPU, and NVIDIA's China market L20. Export rules matter here as a business constraint. They reward designs that get more useful output from the hardware a lab can actually reach. Here is the catch. Sparse experts reduce calculation. They do not make the full model disappear. Reporting on K3 makes the point bluntly, all 2.8 trillion parameters still need to stay loaded. The weak link is moving and holding that memory, not merely doing math. Now put the claim on the scoreboard, next to its closest rivals. The headline lead is real, and its limits are just as useful to understand. On front-end code arena, Kimi K3 posted 1,679, Claude Fable 5 had .T631, GPT 5.6, Sol had .618. Kimi K2.6 had been 18th with 1,015. The important change is not merely first place. It is an open-weight entrant moving from the middle to the front. Moonshot also reports 42.0 on SWE Marathon, 88.3 on Terminal, Bench 2.1, 91.2% on BrowseComp, and 77.8 on Program Bench. Different harnesses and settings matter. So read this as breadth of ambition, not one clean exchange rate between models. The planned July 27 open weight release is the strategic turn. A strong API can win customers one request at a time. Open weights let other companies test, host, and adapt the model themselves. That can widen distribution before revenue catches up. The final question is the one investors cannot benchmark away. What exactly are they buying, and does the answer hold up past this one headline week? K3's listed API prices are 30 cents per million cashed input tokens, $3 for uncashed input, and $15 for output. That is more expensive than K2.6's published pricing. The bet is not simply cheaper intelligence. It is better work worth paying for. This resolves the memory loop. Moonshot's design can spend fewer calculations per token. It cannot wish away the loaded parameters. So the durable advantage is software that makes constrained hardware more productive. That is powerful precisely because it is an optimization, not magic. The IPO bet is that technical momentum compounds before the revenue gap becomes the only number that matters. Moonshot has reported over $3.9 billion raised and a $31.5 billion target. Watch the channel's documentary on MU next for the other side of this trade, the memory suppliers.